So it's February, late February, and it's been really cold in the Northeast for the past month. People didn't think we were even going to get ice on the lakes. And by the middle of January, the ice lock had started. It's really shown itself on our freestone rivers and our dammed rivers and basically it's just showing itself on our rivers. And you look out here and you can see all kinds of tracks. I got some otter tracks right there. You can see the otter slide and then slide again, moving along the channel. All that's left of this river, which is typically 30 yards wide, is this little channel where the water's flowing. And you'll see in many places, like right here, the ice is basically gone across the entire thing. And we're looking at ice in many places here that's 3, maybe even 4 feet thick as a result of that constant current flow and that frigid temperature, nighttime temperatures below zero. And so we got ice lock, and this is going to be a year when this river breaks up in a really dramatic way. And this is going to probably create ice jams and certainly some drama. The most dramatic moment that we see in the Northeast in terms of a seasonal change is when we see a cold winter give way to spring. And you take a look at that thick ice on this Freestone River, and you imagine what that's going to look like when we get the first drenching spring rains. If you come here in another month, this is a series of waterfalls, little step falls that flow into a big extended pool. Right now, this is completely iced over. Just a little area out here where we can see the flow of the water. And I'm daring the ice below my feet right now as I walk out here to show you the main current flow. When I say I'm daring it, I'm not really daring it. I'm standing on about 2.5, 3 feet of ice. And you can see the main channel right here. And you can see the arms of ice coming out, trying to meet. And if it gets cold for a couple more days, this too is going to ice lock. What? February 23rd, 2025, and we have ice-locked rivers all over the Northeast. And people like you and I are ready to get out and throw the fly or the spinner or dunk a worm. And how is this ice, this thick ice, in some cases 4 feet thick, been building up all winter long over the rivulets, creating natural bridges across the river? How is this ice going to affect the river that we're going to be fishing in just a short time after it breaks up? And that's what we're going to talk about in this video, the effect of the icy river lock and subsequent ice breakup, possible ice jams on the ecosystem of our Northeast rivers. So let's ponder, what kind of ecological effect will this ice breaking up have on the river itself? Sometimes you're a little late to the dance. This fruiting of chicken of the woods is in one of my stomping grounds, and I missed it completely. But I'm going to remember this tree. And now, let's talk about ice. When this ice breaks up, you're going to have hunks of ice 5, 6 feet and larger just tumbling and rumbling and roaring down this river, forming temporary dams and basically sweeping the river channel of all the wooden debris that have occurred over the last couple of years. We haven't had ice lock like this in 4 or 5 years up here in the Northeast where I am. And that means there's a lot of trees down. There's a lot of wooden bracken. It's not going to be here in a very short time. The river basin is going to be scoured by this ice. How many of you guys go out wading? Whether you do it wet wading or dry wading, if you've waded the Deerfield, the East, West, or Middle Branch, the Farmington in Western Massachusetts, the Hoosic, even the Housatonic, you've noticed how slippery these rivers can be. Well, this year, you're going to notice the rivers aren't as slippery. And they're not as slippery because this ice is going to scour the river bottom just like it scours the river banks. And it's going to remove that thin coat of algae. In some cases, it's not thin, it's fairly thick. And it's going to tear it right off, allowing you and I to maneuver through the river in a little bit more sane way. The wading sticks aren't going to be as necessary, but use them if you think you need them. Another thing that'll happen when this ice breaks up is it's going to straighten the river channel. So this river will become, in many places, less meandering and more straight for a time until deposition starts to make it meander again. But that straightening of the channel is going to affect a friend of ours, Mr. Mosquito. We're not going to need as much mosquito repellent this year when we're down by our rivers because the little swampy backwaters that a lot of rivers have when they meander are going to be curtailed. They're going to be taken right away. They're not going to have water in them because the river's going to straighten itself out. That's going to be good for us. As far as the insects that live in the river system itself, this year is going to be a great year for big hatches of insects because this river is going to have its bottom churned, releasing nutrients, releasing all kind of bacteria, releasing all the little nematodes and other assorted critters that are living in the gravels. And it's going to mean a good time for our insects in their larval state. So expect some serious hatches this year. Where last year, the year before that, where we didn't have a lot of big hatches, there were a few, don't get me wrong, but expect this year to find yourself surrounded by blue-winged olives and by Hendersons and by mayflies. It's going to be awesome. That's an effect that you don't really think about. Now, a human effect that this is going to have is it's going to change some of the areas that you really liked. There might be pools that are now going to find themselves with boulders in them that they didn't have before because the ice, as it jams up, is going to move substantial boulders in some cases. It's going to straighten itself out. The sand, better watch out because the sand is going to get pushed right out of the way by a much better plow than a snow plow. There's nothing that scours the earth better than sheets of ice. And when this ice gets moving, it's going to be something. And I'm hoping I can bring it to you. So stay tuned. Today we took a little look at the effect of an ice-locked river on our coming trout fishing. And I'm excited. I don't know about you. Let's have some tight line. 2025.